Hello, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Anna Kabecka, the girlfriend doctor, and today we're going to talk food. What does your brain look like on food? How food can help your brain? And my special guest today is Dr. Uma Nato, and she has been on with me before, and we have talked about the amazing ingredients that can go into cooking to make food medicine, and how food really is medicine. So I'm going to introduce you to her and bring her on. She is the amazing best-selling author of This Is Your Brain on Food. Now, Dr. Neto is this is something that described, let me just tell you, Chef David Bouley, who is this famous, amazing chef in New York City, Michelin starred, described Dr. Uma Nato as the world's first triple threat in the food and medicine space. She is a Harvard-trained psychiatrist, a professional chef graduating with her culinary school's most coveted award, and a trained nutrition specialist. Her nexus of interest have found their niche in nutritional psychiatry. So with no further ado, we're going to do some cooking today. Hello, Chef Uma. How are you?
Great. Thank you, Dr. Anna. How are you? It's always lovely to see you.
Oh my gosh, it's always lovely to see you. And I've read your book. I've been using some of your recipes, and I've been really, really thrilled with the results and just how powerful, especially when you're homeschooling a kid. Anyone out there homeschooling? So if you're homeschooling a kid, let me tell you, you want their brain calm. You want them off of sugar. You want them, really, and maybe we can talk about that too a little bit, just cohabitating and homeschooling in the world of
COVID. It's so true, because we all need, whether we are a multi-generational family, or we have kids home from college, or we're just homeschooling, it's all of those things in one. We just need some easy, good solutions that are healthy. I love the recipes in your cookbook. In fact, in your book, I wanted to say that I thought the recipe I'm going to do tonight, which is a simple roasted cauliflower, pairs well with the really lovely massaged kale salad with almond miso dressing on page 280. I love that. I've tried it. I couldn't get kale today, as I mentioned, but I think it pairs so well with that. So, I just think the more we can put good brain foods together, the better we're going to be.
Thank you. And the biggest issue sometimes with the vegetarian and Keto Green 16, thank you for referencing that. With Keto Green 16, there's the vegan plan, and we're really working hard to get protein into vegetarian diets, and how good it is to alternate and actually do plant-based periodically, certainly throughout our lives. And I see Teresa and Pam here. I'm excited. You guys have questions about food, ingredients, nutrients, spices. Look, you can't get better than Dr. Uma. Let me tell you, Chef Dr. Uma. I'm like, how do you so exciting.
Thank you. So, I know that you use cauliflower rice in some of your recipes, and cauliflower. I thought it was a great overlap of the work that we do. It's a great plant-based way to add more veggies to your diet. And, you could pair this roasted cauliflower with a baked salmon. I know you have great recipes in your book, Keto Green 16, for that. It can also be, if you're just plant-based, you can have this with a lovely green salad. I'll show you after. You have to have the before and after, how I plated it. But what I love about this is it's really easy. It's basically a head of cauliflower, which I also love because it kind of looks like the brain.
Exactly what I was going to say. Did you choose cauliflower because it looks like the brain? I mean, the gray matter. But this is so true. That's why it's good brain food.
Exactly.
And frankly, this is October Breast Health Awareness Month, and it looks like the breast tissue, and it's also very, very good for the breast. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what makes cauliflower so good for the brain too.
Absolutely. So what I like to do is just talk about a couple of things about getting started in the kitchen, and I say that with great humility because I started cooking later in life. I came from a large South Asian family. And I'm just going to move the books for a second so that you can see what I'm doing. And in the family were many cooks and older cousins, and two grandmothers and aunts who were cooking. So I really only got to cook later in life. And for that reason, I really believe that starting simple, starting with something healthy and delicious, and really this is where spices are your friend. Not only are they calorie-free, salt-free, sugar-free, and bring delicious flavor to your meal, they also have really great brain benefits. So I think that they're just an easy way to incorporate in the recipe today for simple roasted cauliflower. And, you know, it also pairs well with several recipes in Dr. Anna Kabeka's book. I like to talk about just setting up your kitchen, again, because I came to cooking later in my life. The first thing is whenever you're cutting something that is, you know, you're going to be using this motion, you don't want your board to slide. So I always put a little piece of cloth under my board. Let me see if you can see it here, okay? And what that does is it secures the board. So the board now is not going to move when I'm going to be cutting something big. So I washed and dried my head of cauliflower earlier. I peeled off the leaves at the bottom. Now, you know, some supermarkets will sell a cauliflower steak for you, to you. They'll just charge a lot more. And out of this was actually a somewhat small head of cauliflower. You can get at least 3 good steaks out of that. And then after peeling the leaves, I just chop off the bottom, just trying to show you, so that you have something steady on the board, okay? And that way it's not going to slide. And then I take my knife, which I secure under my board when I'm not using it so that it doesn't slide over, and if someone else is in the kitchen, they don't get hurt. And then I just slice the steak. Now, you know, it's kind of fragile, and little bits will go all over the place, but I have a tip for you for that too. And all of these little bits that you see here don't have to go to waste. They can be used for a soup. They can be used for a stew. They can be used crumbled and placed on a salad. So don't waste, you know, the little bits that if you don't get a perfect slice. I'm just going to take the tip off here. And this I am going to throw away because it's kind of the hard, knobbly part of the leaf. And here's how I make a quick and easy marinade. And what I want you to know about this marinade is I like the sort of the flavors that go with the healthy brain food spices. But you can go in a Mexican direction. You can go in a more Spanish flavored direction. You can go in an Italian direction. You pair the spices that you like. Because, like I said, as long as it's just a pure spice, usually I try to get organic, but I can. But as pure spice, there's no added salt or sugar in there, and it really gives you great flavor and great brain benefit. The first thing I do is I keep a little bowl aside, and I use a little teaspoon, and I add in my salt. I have some avocado oil measured out here, and I always measure out and lay out my ingredients. It's just something they teach you in culinary school. And here's the thing, it just makes your recipe go so fast once you have it done. This recipe, I promise you, will take you 5 minutes when it's all set out like that. So the next, I'm putting a little bit of garlic powder.
This is a question I have for you. So like when you put like spices like that, the salts, the garlic powder, you can leave them, right? Or like you can just like stack them or leave. Do you have to like put them back in a canister, close the lid right away? And by the way, we have in our Magic Menopause community, we have our Magic Menopause community watching right now. And the biggest thing that many people have a challenge with is they're not used to doing their own cooking. So I love this tip of the towel under the cutting board. I mean, I've been cooking for 50 something years and I never knew that. I love that tip because that is a big issue, especially when you're like slicing away. It can be dangerous. And I know her husband.
So that's I'm glad you like that tip because it's something I learned at the Culinary Institute, and I always teach it at every class because I think it's so it's so smart, it's wise. Anyway, with the spices, here's what I do. I measure them out and I put them in the bowl. Okay, so really technically, I measured out for 2 portions here. If you have some left over, you can just cover it with a little bit of plastic wrap and store it for your next recipe. As long as you're using a clean spoon to access the spices and you're not sticking, kind of your fingers in, because, that could be unsanitary and there could be microbes on there. Just keep out the spices, cover them, or put them back in the jar if you wish. I prefer to just keep them out and cover them if I have them left over and use them for my recipe, tomorrow. So what I've done here is I've measured out my avocado oil. This is such a simple marinade. It's got turmeric with a pinch of black pepper. I'll tell you about that in a second. Paprika, salt, and some garlic powder. I added garlic powder here because, I could add fresh garlic, but it can have a little bit of a bite in a roasted recipe like this. So I use fresh garlic when I'm sauteing and stir frying and that type of stuff. And I even use it in this recipe sometimes, but I thought for today we'd make it super simple. And look, you have this easy marinade that's blended up in the bowl. Why do I do that? Because actually, when you see chefs at a stove and they throw in spices into hot oil, they're actually allowing the spices to bloom and emit their flavor and their aroma. So I always like to dissolve the spices in oil and then brush them onto the cauliflower or my roasted dish or anything. And remember, if you don't want to go, through having the big knife and cutting the cauliflower, just get cauliflower florets. This will work with frozen cauliflower florets, and this will work with just, if you buy a bag of fresh cauliflower florets that they sell in the supermarket. They do charge you more for all the work that they do, but that's fine. If that makes it convenient for you, I would so much rather you have a homemade fresh dish than get takeout food or, some sort of processed food or food at the fast food restaurant. I know you guys are not doing that, but I'm just saying that's the comparison. That's why.
Oh, yes, we are, Chef Uma. I tell you, sometimes it just happens to be that way. We're trying not to, definitely not in our Magic Menopause community. And we really work on that in our Keto Green community. But I will tell you, being on the road in Texas for all this time, even eating out at some of the better restaurants, it's not the same. There's preservatives in the sauces. There's sugar in the sauces. It's not the best. It totally has. I mean, I recognize that very, very personally.
You notice the difference in your body. I've had individuals who haven't been able to travel during COVID, and one of the things that happened was one of my patients who's an executive, and travels a lot like you, Dr. Anna. He noticed he was feeling much less anxious, and I thought, this is great. What's he doing differently? And he hasn't changed the diet that we've been working on in terms of the nutritional psychiatry plan, but because he's not traveling and not flying and traveling, going through airports and eating at hotels or at fast food restaurants, he's eating less processed food and less processed vegetable oils, which, just are linked to worsening of anxiety. So when I did this,
I was just going to say one more note. I just want to say hi to Micah Bonnie. She is just an amazing musician. I love that girl. So I hope she continues to watch here. And Teresa. And for all of you that's watching, you can share this, create a watch party, share this on your page. And if you can't share it because you're in one of our private groups, go to my YouTube channel or at Dr. Anna C, my main page. You can share and start a watch party from there with your audience. So sharing these great tips and great advice, because who doesn't need a little help on anxiety right now? So if you need some help with anxiety, just say, yes, that's me. Raise your hand. I'm here with you.
I love that tip. So with all these pieces here, I could make more steaks. Oh, look at how simple this is. This piece broke off, right? Look at this, break them apart and you've got your own florets. And that's why I'm saying you can get it from the supermarket, you can get it frozen, or you can just break it up in your own. So it doesn't have to be a cauliflower steak. I just think that sometimes people who eat a full diet of both animal and seafood, protein and plant-rich diet, they want something a little bit more that looks substantial. And I just think calling it a cauliflower steak and having a nice piece like this could be more substantial. Although, frankly, to me, it's just the same whether it's cauliflower florets or not. And the other tip about this that I have is make it even easier for yourself. You can get frozen cauliflower florets. Why do I say that? Because in the United States, our vegetables are flash frozen as well as our fruit. And so there's no added syrup, sugar, salt, or sauce with it. Just buy it. And sometimes if it comes with a little bag of sauce, don't use the sauce. but use the actual vegetables or fruit, and make sure there's nothing added to the actual vegetable or fruit medley. And that way you do the same exact recipe, make the spice little marinade is what I call it, blend like that, sprinkle it on your cauliflower florets, and pop it in the oven. Now I've of course made it ahead so that we could talk more, but I'll just show you what I do here. If you have a little brush, you can brush it on, but a spoon works just as well. It's all clean, and I've mixed it all together, and you have a great little cauliflower floret there. From a good medium-sized cauliflower, you can probably get 4 good steaks for that for a family, and then all the leftover bits, these little knobbly bits, can either be for cauliflower instead of cauliflower steaks, cauliflower roasted vegetables, or added to a super smoothie. You can also just put them in a baggie and freeze them for when you need them next. All easy, and you don't get to waste. Plus, these are fresh, healthy, whole ingredients. Now, going back to the spices, the reason that I chose the turmeric with a pinch of black pepper, I have an easy hack if you work with turmeric. Turmeric is this bright orange spice, and be careful with it because it can stain your counter, and it can.
Oh, yes, it does.
You've had experience with that, Dr. Anna. I know, so have I. So on my coat like this, it could really stain. But I have an easy hack for you. I keep it in a glass jar. And because piperine from black pepper activates the curcumin to make it more bioavailable by a pretty large percent for your body and your brain, I actually just, in my glass jar, I grind several grinds of my black pepper in there. I stir it up and keep it that way. And even if I add extra pepper, my recipe is completely fine. But that way, whenever I use turmeric, I add it to the great smoothies that Dr. Anna has. I can always add it into stuff, and the black pepper is with it. So that's an easy hack for turmeric. You don't cook with it, and you looking at this thinking, should I or shouldn't I try this recipe? At least add turmeric with a pinch of black pepper to a super smoothie, even a tea. I had people even add it to a chia pudding that they make. So it's all good. And then, the salt and pepper, the garlic I explained. Garlic actually has a lot of great anti-inflammatory and healing properties. So it's just a great spice to work with. And when you have fresh garlic, which I do, I just thought it might have a little bit too much of a bite for this recipe, but great to use in your other recipes. And paprika is actually made from red bell pepper. And it turns out that red bell peppers have one of the highest levels of vitamin C. Who knew? So great for immunity, a great brain spice as well. And I love the color. I like color. I like food that looks interesting and looks different. Today we went in this direction, but tomorrow we want to do this or next week. And say you did the cauliflower with other roasted vegetables. You could, like I said, do coriander, cumin, and Mexican oregano, for more of that type of flavor. Of course, don't forget your salt and pepper. I kind of add turmeric to a lot of stuff, but you don't have to. And then you could go to an Italian direction, or more of kind of an English roast direction, sort of salt, pepper, parsley, thyme. You could throw in a piece of sage if you have it. It's all good, and it could all be super delicious. And here's the thing, use some avocado oil, which is safe at higher temperatures. Roast it in the oven at 400 degrees. You can even do it at 380 for about 15 to 20 minutes until your veggies look good. And because it's a vegetable dish and not baking a cake, if you pull it out and your vegetables need to be a little bit softer, just put them back in. You can always save a savory recipe. Baking, though, we kind of have to measure. The other thing I was going to say is that with roasted veggies, you can make a batch for your family. But say you have a sheet pan. Let me take out the one that I have made.
And we got from Facebook, love the hack. I'm grinding the pepper into my turmeric spice now. Oh, look how beautiful. So you put the herb spread all over it.
I put it all over it. And earlier on, I have to tell you, Doctor, and I had my little brush out because, cauliflower has all these knobbly bits. And I kind of misplaced my brush when I was setting up for the demo. So that's how I got it in there, but it's all good. And it's great because what I wanted to show you actually, look at this sheet pan, right? This is called, for those of you who started off life with me not cooking, life like me not cooking, this is a half sheet pan. And the half sheet pan fits beautifully in most ovens. And all I use is a piece of parchment paper. Parchment paper is your friend, ladies and gentlemen, because it'll help things not stick. Just lay this on. It makes cleanup much easier. After I've taken off the cauliflower, I toss away the parchment paper, wipe down my pan, and scrub it if I need to. It really makes it easier for you. But on that same half sheet pan, listen, you can do half roasted vegetables and half, chicken breast, or half of a piece salmon. You just have to mind the temperature for that, so that one doesn't cook faster than the other, or that your salmon or your piece of chicken breast doesn't overcook. And you just have to mind the temperature on that. But you can do it all on the same pan, and you have an entire dinner ready for your family on the sheet pan. And guess what? If your family is not too fussy, you can serve it on there as well, at the table. If you don't, you can put on a beautiful platter and enjoy it that way. Have a healthy green salad on the side with lots of the lovely veggies from Dr. Anna's recipes that I agree, I think are beautiful, great for your gut, great for your brain, rich sources of fiber, folate, etc., and put it together. So, you can make it much easier for yourself. And I wanted to show you as well what I did to plate this. So what I did is I put this plate together. It has
beautiful.
I love the colors, and the colors bring us rich phytonutrients and plant phytochemicals for your brain. So it's got the red cabbage, it's got the cooked roasted cauliflower, it's got some, unfortunately, some of my basil and arugula wilted a little bit, but that's what happens when you set up ahead. And the little baby grape tomatoes. Now, it turns out tomatoes are very rich in lycopene. It's one of the antioxidants, but lycopene is actually found more lycopene is found in the skin. So, try to keep your tomatoes with the skin on. Wash them out and add them to your salads as well. And then I sliced some zucchini and added that to the plate because I had that available. And you could steam it, or you can have it, just as part of your salad. And what I also love is just the colors that this brings. And I like, we eat with our eyes first, in addition to food being delicious, because I have to say that I won't eat food if it's kind of not tasty in some way. And the reason is that if I don't eat something that's tasty, I don't feel satisfied. I don't know if you've ever felt that. And I find myself then after dinner or after that meal looking for something else that I want. And that's when I get into a bad food habit. So I get myself into trouble. So, spend that extra time developing a flavor, throwing in some spices, make it pretty for you to look at, because you eat with your eyes first and it makes it enjoyable for you and your family. And listen, this took me 5 minutes to put together. It just had some red cabbage. And the other thing I would say about the colors and all of the polyphenols when you eat vegetables in that way, is that they also bring biodiversity back to your gut microbiome. So those microbes that live down there want to help us. They work on our immunity. They work on multiple things. But of course, you know me, I'm going to care about the brain health. They really work hard to use those phytochemicals to create proper substances that help our brain health. And the other thing is they want fiber. And where do you get fiber? From fruit, vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, legumes, and healthy whole grains, if you eat them and if they're part of the diet that you're following. I know that with the keto green diet, there's some of those that we don't eat. But again, you can pick on the ones that you like. I think it's the black soybeans that are great. So that's a great source of protein for you, fiber, and low carb. Great option. So all of those can be added in. And so just remember, the colors are also good for your gut. And I hope that you'll try the recipe. Like I said, for those of you who went on at the beginning, I thought it paired beautifully with Dr. Anna's recipe for massaged kale salad, which has miso paste in it. And miso is great because it's fermented. And what does our gut need but fermented food? So there you go. I hope you'll try it. Oh, and by the way, I always add a squeeze of lemon at the end because it just adds a boost of flavor.
I love lemon, definitely. That little bit of acid to the fat, that just, and the salt, that combination, that trifecta, right? Salt, fat, acid, that really brings forth the flavors of what you're eating. And you want it to taste good. You want it to taste yummy. And for those that are listening, it was one of our Magic Menopause ladies, Karen. She's like, oh man, I can't drink the keto green shake. It's kind of gritty. I'm like, add a little bit of avocado to it. She blended up the avocado in it, smooth as can be, completely changed it. So these little hacks make what we're doing so much better. We want to enjoy what we're eating. And cauliflower steak, you guys, if you have not tried it, it is fabulous. It is so delicious, so good, so satisfying. And you can see how Dr. Chef Uma, how do we call you that? The Dr. Chef Uma whipped it, really just made it so easy, beautiful. And the reasons why we want to eat it, the reasons why we want to feed it to our friends, our mates, our family, our kids. There are so many reasons for this beautiful brain food. Now, I do have some questions, and if anyone has questions about the recipe, let me know. So why did you use avocado oil instead of olive oil?
Right, so olive oil is a very healthy oil. It's a healthy fat, and you should use it. But at higher temperatures, if I'm roasting, avocado oil doesn't create any unhealthy substances in the oven in terms of how it breaks down. So I find that that avocado oil does better at high heats. And so I keep a little bottle for roasting and that kind of stuff. But I use olive oil in my salads and in lots of other recipes as well.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. And now run through those spices that are in front of you for anyone who joined late.
Of course. So because this recipe calls for garlic, I chose garlic powder, not garlic salt, because that would have added salt. There's some garlic powder. It makes it easier because it blends nicely into our marinade. I just had some kosher salt. Then I had some paprika, which is just regular paprika. You can also get a smoked version if you like that. And it's basically made from dried red bell pepper, so it's really delicious. And it's not too spicy. It's cayenne pepper, that's the spicy one. This was my oil. And I had these little bowls laid out here to make my recipe 5 minutes. And this is my turmeric with my black pepper in it, so it's just in one bowl. And what I did is I added in the the avocado oil into my little bowl here, had a clean spoon. I just spooned a little bit of each of the spices in and then mixed it up because I really want those spices to blend up and not be kind of dry on the cut. There's nothing wrong if you do it that way. I just think it makes it more delicious for you. And then brushed it on or used the spoon and got it onto the cauliflower steak. And then we cooked up our steak here. This was just one, but you can see I can probably fit 6 or 8 on this pan and cook them, pretty fast. I mean, takes about 5 minutes. Once you have everything set up, it takes you 5 minutes to get it together and 15 to 20 minutes in the oven and you have dinner. And while that's happening, you can make, a great salad to go with it or plate up some of these veggies just to make it more colorful and attractive and entertaining for your dinner. And again, you can do all of this with, because the more veggies, the better, but the right veggies. You can do this with a side of salmon, baked salmon. You can do, and by the way, the same marinade could work on a piece of 6-ounce salmon. So, say you get your little piece of salmon for you and for your whole family, or say you get a side of salmon that you want to bake up. All it is the temperature in the oven might be slightly lower, and you cook it for a shorter time because you don't want it to burn. It cooks more delicately. And if you've cooked salmon before, you just have to watch for the pinkness or the coloring of the salmon, or you can use a thermometer and use the temperature. Same exact marinade, guys. Same marinade that you can do. Brush it on your salmon, bake it in the oven, and you could do this with salmon instead of cauliflower, or both if you wanted. You could do salmon steaks on one side, or salmon cutlets on one side, and you could do cauliflower pieces on the other, and you have dinner. So
I love that. So, and also explain why salmon is one of our superfoods, why it's so good for the brain.
yes, the salmon is a fatty fish, and fatty fish are really hit the high notes with omega-3 fatty acids because omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to, in addition to many other health benefits, in mental health really help depression and anxiety, as well as some other conditions. So they're anti-inflammatory, they have antioxidant properties, and basically salmon is super rich in that. And the type of salmon well sourced would be probably sockeye salmon. But here's the thing, if you don't eat salmon and you are following the vegan keto diet, then you can get your short chain omega-3s from ALA in chia seeds, flax seeds, sea vegetables, and algae. And the little hack that I have for you there is that a little bit of turmeric, which contains the ingredient curcumin, actually helps our brain be more efficient, our bodies be more efficient, converting the ALA to the longer chain omega-3s that you need. So if you're vegan, you can do that too with those sources.
So many good tips here, Uma. One other thing I wanted to ask you is, what I love to make my, olive oil, garlic, lemon juice, salt, salad dressing, right? And I'll make it. I usually will keep it in the fridge for a couple days. If we made a lot of that marinade, because you can use it on everything, make it easy. How long can we keep it in the fridge? Should we keep it on the counter or in the fridge, or?
So, because it's in an oil, it's probably completely safe to keep on the counter. But just for the issue of safety, I would just keep it in the fridge, because here's the reason: you can make a whole. This is a clean mason jar. You can make up, a half bottle of this or more. Add your spices to it, shake it up, and leave it in your fridge. And just use a clean brush or a spoon each time, and add it to your steak as you need to.
That sounds great. So I'm doing it. I'm making it. I think that's just a beautiful blend of spices. What other spices could you add to this if we were getting really creative, just going wild and crazy? What should we add?
So I also like things a little bit more spicy. So I like to add cayenne pepper, which is really what Indian chili powder is made from, and that ups your heat game a little bit. But it's also a great brain spice. And so if I went in a more Indian direction of those flavors, I would use cumin, coriander, turmeric with a pinch of black pepper, salt, and then throw in some cayenne, which has a capsaicin in it. Then if I went in an Italian direction, I would do salt, pepper. I'd leave out the turmeric and use something like oregano, and have it be a little bit more, or Italian herbs. Some blends without salt have Italian herbs in them, which can be delicious too. And Mexican could be, some cumin with some Mexican oregano, and I might pair that with do that, and then add some of the black soybeans on the side and use the same spice with that. That would be a great mix for this. Low carb bean. Pairs well with the cauliflower, same marinade that you can use in both, and you might just cook those on the stove top in a little pan, and make it just easy for yourself. And then chop things like scallions on top, and just make it interesting for the crunch factor. And I'd have some nice rich leafy greens on the side. Just make it easy for yourself. Use what you have.
Well, and I think just combining the ingredients, having that marinade, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, using it as a saute, adding it into eggs. I mean, it's a lot of great options to use that. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Oh, yes, you put it in there.
Well, this is a very large one. I happen to be making a shake in this earlier, but you have smaller ones, and you can make up that amount. Or if you have a big family, you might need a big one, and just, brush it on everything. Just use a clean spoon and brush each time, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I think that's great. So tell our audience where to get a hold of you, and you guys share the love, give us some likes and love, and we appreciate that so much. And be sure to share this on your page. And if you are on one of our private groups, you can go to my main page or YouTube channel and share it from there. So Dr. Uma Naidoo, Dr. Chef Uma Naidoo, her book is This Is Your Brain on Food. Again, Harvard-trained psychiatrist, Harvard-trained psychiatrist, just brilliant in her own right, clinically astute, recognize that there is so much more to psychiatry than meds. We've got to get our body, our gut healed, as she was talking about the microbiome, the more serotonin is made in the GI tract than in the brain. And that is where, I mean, this, this community within us has to be a happy community for us to be happy. And using, integrating these herbs and these spices are truly powerful. They are truly powerful. And so use it in your cooking. Make these dishes. Your whole family will really love them. We've got, we get from Facebook. Thank you, Dr. Nato.
Thank you. My pleasure. It's so
So
fun.
where can people get a hold of you and get your beautiful book?
Yes, so you can follow me on social media at DRUMANAIDOO, at Dr. Uma Naidu. My book can be found on all major book sites and Amazon as well. Or check out my site, which is umanaidumd.com. And I'd love to see you on Instagram, or have you follow us on all our social media platforms to interact with us. I'd love to hear from all of you. And thank you for hosting me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm just thinking the holidays coming up and Halloween. I think this cauliflower steak would be a great for like Halloween, because it looks like a brain, and our creative population out there could play on this. But this is a great food to have at a Halloween party, if you're getting together over, but for your family at least. For the fall, I think that's just a fun dish to have too, and just so powerful, so good for your brain. And there's so much. We got Aggie says thanks from Facebook. Love this recipe, and just ordered your book. Seriously, you guys, Chef Uma, she knows how to flavor up some stuff, but you really want to understand, because brain health is so important. Anxiety is an issue. ADD is an issue. Mood swings are an issue. How food and your brain interact. This is powerful stuff. And it's, again, written by a Harvard trained psychiatrist. So I know food is the best source to get turmeric, but if you want to take it as a supplement, can you suggest a clean supplement?
I don't know the brand name, but I would look for one that has a good reputation. Look at maybe a consumer report. Ask your doctor. Make sure it has piperine in it. I like to go to food sources first if I can, but if you don't like to cook with it, supplement is perfectly fine.
Yeah. There's one that I wrote about in a blog a while back, and it's the Thrive's liquid turmeric. That was one that I had researched that was really, really good. And don't y'all forget, there is turmeric in Mighty Maca Plus. That is the reason why I know so well how turmeric stains, because like Mighty Maca doesn't stain your towel green, it will stain it, orange. That's beautiful, antioxidant rich orange. And let's see. Put tart cherry juice over it for Halloween. So the cauliflower steak with bloody brain. I love it, Martha. I love it. This is awesome. Great suggestion. So again, thank you. And go to umanadumd.com, her website. Follow her. I put her Instagram up earlier, the recipes in the notes. And again, thank you for sharing that recipe from your book. And thank you for sharing this twist to it, and pairing some great, a beautiful keto green, delicious dish. So thank you everyone for being here. And till next time, stay tuned. Again, be sure to share and give us some love. Thank y'all.
Take care.